when it comes to supplements that you like to research, or when you are working with athletes and stuff, like what are some of the main supplements that these people are using to enhance their brain or their processing power?
Well, first of all, if we do a blood test, right, and we see that they are deficient in something, remember, everything has a chemical pathway. If they're vitamin D deficient, we need to investigate that, right? Let's just say we have plugged the holes and they're not deficient in anything, which has never happened, right? Zinc, everything. Where to from there? Well, I think that every single person, I don't care what age you are, I really don't. I don't care what pathology you have. I think everyone should be taking creatine.
Really?
Creatine monohydrate is the most widely studied supplement. It is the cheapest and most safe supplement on the market. I've interviewed some of the best people that are world-renowned for creatine who have done their PhDs in creatine.
Really?
They all say that you can get creatine from dietary sources such as meat, liver, eggs. You know, we know that. But we also know that it's not as bioavailable because of just the way we're living, right? So we should be supplementing with it and starting at 5 grams per day of creatine monohydrate.
That's one of the big things Dom got me into as well, is taking creatine monohydrate every day.
Without a doubt, I've got my parents on it. Okay, kids can have it.
Really?
Women, the PhD. Darren told me that there's no cutoff with kids. I mean, if you are over the age of 45, you should be having it. My parents are in their late 60s. Oh, my dad is 72 and my mum is 69. Like, I've got them having it. I had to convince them. They thought it was drugs to start with. I said, it's not drugs.
Why is it the cheapest stuff is always the best for you?
Because it just is. It's the most widely studied.
So what specifically does it do? How does it help?
So first of all, it's a naturally occurring molecule. Okay, we already have it in our body, but we don't produce enough of it. It helps with ATP regeneration. Okay, so ATP is the fuel source, the source of energy production in all of our cells. We have it in the brain. So we need ATP to create energy, to produce anything, just to even be awake, right? So when we take creatine, it can help produce ATP. It helps with cell energy metabolism, right? So it can actually help with so many disorders as well. If you're anxious, it can help you with that. If you want to produce more neuronal energy, it can help you with that. My father, he had a stroke a few years ago, and I've got him taking it just to help with better neuron energy in his brain. It can actually help be neuroprotective against concussions. It can help be neuroprotective against Parkinson's disease. There's so much research happening now in the neurodegenerative phase. And just today, actually, I put up on my story on Instagram a really great study that came out to show the effectiveness of creatine monohydrate on Alzheimer's disease patients. Because Alzheimer's disease patients can't produce energy in certain areas of their brain.
Really?
Of course, because their brain now is full of, plaques and tangles and these tau proteins, and they've built up and they're blocking, certain areas of the brain. So you can give them, creatine, 5 grams a day.
5? How much is that? Like a spoonful?
Yeah, generally they're coming in but
and you just drink it in water?
Yeah, you can have it however you want. You can have it in yogurt if it's got no taste. And you can go up from there and have 10 grams if you will.
Really?
Yeah.
You can't overdo it.
You can't, and I mean, you don't want to have 100 grams. There is no science or evidence that shows that it can actually cause hair loss, which I know people are really scared about that, or that it can cause kidney damage.
Why would people think it causes hair loss?
Oh, so many people, just because of the DHT pathway. People think that,
like androgens?
Yeah. So people think...
because it increases testosterone, doesn't it?
Yeah. So... there is no hair loss. There is no kidney damage. There's been so many studies. There was actually one great study on bone density and women, and they tracked them for 2 years. And they got them taking, I think, 7.5 grams of creatine every single day for 2 years. There was no stopping. There was no cycling. There was no loading. They increased bone density, right?
Wow.
But they also said in the study there was no heart defects. There was no kidney damage. There was no liver damage. There was no hair loss. These are women taking it for 2 years. So these are just myths that are out there. So
that's fascinating.
Creatine, that's the first one. Second one is EPA DHA, which is omega-3 fatty acids.
Say that again, slower.
Omega-3 fatty acids.
Okay, EPA DHA?
Yeah.
Okay.
So omega-3 fatty acids that come from fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, they contain 3 parts. There's ALA, there's EPA, and then there's DHA. The brain is fat and water. It's around 60% fat, 40% water. That's what your brain is made of. In that fat zone, in the 60% fat zone, around 30%, 20 to 30% is DHA.
Really?
Yeah, so brain tissue is abundant in DHA fat.
I can imagine that a lot of people are deficient in that.
Yeah, so you can actually, they did this great all-cause mortality risk factors paper. They brought it out like 3 years ago. And basically they listed the new list of risk factors that lead to death. Hypertension, right? Chronically high blood pressure. Smoking is a risk factor. They then put in EPA, low omega-3 index. So we now have if you've got a low omega-3 index, which is a measure of omega-3s in the red blood cell, a low omega-3 index of 4% or less, which is what the majority of the US population has, is a risk factor for all-cause mortality. So you want to be on that scale, you want to be on 8% or more.
I don't think I've ever had that specific, like my EPA or DHA measured in a blood test before.
You can do it. It's called the omega-3 index.
But like looking at how abysmal my cholesterol is, I eat a ton of fish, by the way. And I also take EPA. I take fish oil supplements.
Yeah. And you may very well be up there. Even though you're eating a ton of fish, we are in America. So it's not sometimes the best source of getting EPA DHA.
American fish?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, farmed fish. Most of it's farmed. That's why.
Oh, well, I live in Florida. Most of my fish is caught right off the beach here.
Are you sure about that?
In the Gulf, yeah.
You're doing it?
No, but all my friends do.
Oh, well, then that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of us who live in New York, we're going to Whole Foods.
What about like canned fish? That's not as good. Like people who get because I know Dom eats a lot of canned. I'm not talking about Dom the whole time, but I know he eats a lot of like canned mackerel and canned sardines.
Yeah, no, you can get a lot of the EPA DHA from there too.
You can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you've got to worry about the mercury content, but that's fine.
Right. Well, that's the mercury's in like the big fish, the big pelagic fish like tuna and stuff like that. Yeah,
correct. So you want to be making sure that you're getting a really great dose of EPA DHA. We also know that we're now getting studies again to Alzheimer's disease. So amyloid beta, which is the hallmark of Alzheimer's disease, these amyloid beta causes these plaques to build up and basically clump together like this. We are now getting early studies in humans to show that omega-3 fatty acids, EPA DHA, at around 5 grams a day can go through and ameliorate these plaques. So we're now even seeing the effectiveness of EPA DHA on the brain of Alzheimer's disease.
Amyloid plaques?
Yeah.
Can reverse it?
No, not reverse it. Basically ameliorate some of the plaques in there.
Mean?
Break them down better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like metabolize them better.
Yeah, correct.
That's fascinating.
And you've got to think, we've got, our cells need to be moving around. We've got trillions of cells in the body. We've got around 87 billion neurons in the brain. And you want them to be able to be fluid and move around. And that's what EPA DHA does as well. It helps with cell membrane fluidity, the outer shell of the cell, to be more fluid. And, it's just, I think I'll go to my grave telling people to take creatine and EPA DHA.